Social determinants of health is an examination of how poverty, education, housing, or social justice are portrayed as root causes of health disparities. So, for today's analysis, we'll talk exactly about that. For our topic, we have the documentary Kape para Kailan, documentary ni Kara David, which is Eyewitness. We'll first summarize, then analyze using our topic, and provide recommendations based on our analysis. Again, this is your resident Psyche, Osama Balaki. And I am your societal analyst, Sila Marie. Join us in another round of Psych and Society with Sila and Oz. The documentary Kape para kay Lian, from the name itself, begins by introducing Lian. He is a nearly 3-year-old child who weighs only 6.5 kilograms, which is the average weight of an 8-month-old baby. He cannot walk, stand, or crawl, and is already suffering from bed sores. Of course, as any well-informed privileged individuals might assume, the documentary insinuated that this was caused by kape or rice coffee, and the water from boiled rice, which was being fed to the child instead of nutritious milk that provides the essential nutrients for growth. But what exactly is the reasoning behind this? Lian is the youngest child of Janelyn. To survive, she works in Bulacan and sends money to her mother in Camarines Sur, who is Lian's caregiver. Because of financial struggles, the caregiver had to feed Lian rice coffee and Lian's caregiver believed that makes the baby feel fuller. When asked about the baby's condition, she attributed it to meningitis, not to the food intake. Further investigation revealed that Lian's case was not unusual. In Barangay Karangan, around 80% of children were malnourished and raised on coffee. The documentary emphasized that malnutrition is not only the result of poverty, but also of a lack of knowledge. Many families wrongly believe that rice, coffee, and are heavier in the stomach than milk, and they are unaware that breast milk itself provides the best nutrients for their children. A physician refuted that Lian doesn't have meningitis. Lian's weak condition is the result of inadequate nutrients due to improper feeding practices. With the team's help and the right food, after a month, Lian's situation improved drastically. His weight increased from 6.5 to 7.9 kilograms. The film ends with a hopeful but challenging message that every child has a chance to thrive with proper, well-informed care. From a community health psychology perspective, social determinants of health shape the systemic and environmental factors driving health outcomes. I will explain in the following slides how the social determinants of health manifest in the documentary. First is economic stability. Lian's malnutrition was primarily driven by his family's economic hardship. His grandmother, out of desperation, substituted milk with rice coffee, a drink made from burnt rice without essential nutrients. This choice was not mere negligence, but a survival strategy within the limits of poverty. Lian's stunted growth, inability to walk or play, and overall developmental delay were consequences of poverty dictating nutrition. Second is education access and quality. The documentary reveals a lack of nutritional knowledge among Lian's community. For instance, interviews with the family members show they believe rice coffee is an acceptable infant food and are unaware of its nutritional deficiencies. Tara David notes this misconception is widespread, where 80% of weighed children are malnourished and regularly consume coffee. The absence of educational programs on infant nutrition, likely due to limited access to schools or community health education in this rural area, perpetuates harmful feeding practices. Third, healthcare access and quality. Despite the visible severity of malnutrition, there was no intervention from barangay health workers. Lian's case was not unique. About 80% of children in the community were reported malnourished, signaling a systemic gap in healthcare outreach. Weak malnutrition monitoring programs, absence of feeding initiatives, and lack of pediatric interventions contributed to Leanne's worsening condition. Healthcare was technically present, but inaccessible. Fourth, neighborhood and built environment. The documentary depicts a resource scarce environment where access to nutritious food is limited. An example is the community's reliance on rice coffee due to the unavailability or unaffordability of milk and other nutrient rich foods. Footage shows impoverished living conditions with families like Leanne's residing in makeshift homes. This environment normalizes inadequate nutrition practices, and the people reflect how the built environment restricts healthy food access and perpetuates health inequities. Fifth is social and community. Perhaps the most powerful determinant in Leanne's story was the cultural normalization of malnutrition. The practice of giving coffee to children was not isolated, it was a shared community practice. Families repeated it with the belief that it was sufficient nourishment. Leanne's health outcome was thus shaped not only by poverty, but by the community's collective acceptance of harmful practices.
The documentary shows the intertwined issues of poverty, lack of education, and social justice. To address the root causes of severe malnutrition, we propose several interventions. Since this is urgent, the first step is to fill the stomach of those affected. We can establish community feeding programs for infants and young children. In this first step, we can show our concern, build rapport, and address the problem of feeding coffee due to financial constraints. Then conduct workshops and home visits to debunk misconceptions that and coffee are better than milk and emphasize breastfeeding and proper complementary feeding. We can deploy mobile clinics for checkups and malnutrition screening while advocating for subsidized medical services. And of course, support income-generating projects so families can afford nutritious food and provide counseling for parents. Leanne's remarkable improvement in just 1 month serves as a beacon of hope, supporting the documentary's ultimate call to action. That would inform consistent and compassionate intervention, the devastating cycle of malnutrition and every health issue out there can be broken, offering every individual the fundamental right to health and a chance to a better future. Thank you.